Tonight, a massive manhunt. Fears grow, and for another night, the serial sniper remains on the loose.
And his latest execution is the sniper's ninth.
Behind every face you're looking at right now is a family with a broken heart.
We knew him as the man mowing grass, the cabbie gassing up his taxi, the woman near the Home Depot, and the worker who drove a bus.
The elusive gunman has now killed 10 people.
For people just out doing everyday things.
I heard a big bang because it was right by my head.
It was a new kind of terror.
You go out in the morning, you don't never know if you're going to make it back.
Killers stalking gas stations, parking lots, schools.
We're dealing with someone shooting from a distance.
Sudden death from phantom murderers.
From October 2nd, 2002 to October 24th, 2002, two men, John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo, went on a rampage in the DMV area, and 23 years later we are still wondering why. The shooters chose targets seemingly at random and brought daily life in the area to a virtual standstill. The attacks began on October 2nd, 2002, when a bullet shattered the window of a craft store in Aspen Hill, Maryland, narrowly missing the cashier. Seeing as nobody was hit, it was believed to be a stray shot, until less than an hour later, when a 55-year-old man was shot and killed while walking across a parking lot in Wheaton, Maryland. Although the shootings were not initially recognized as being connected, law enforcement authorities soon realized that the two acts of violence were just the first of what would be more than a dozen linked shootings over the next 23 days.
You know, calls from all over the world have poured into the Montgomery County Police Department, people wondering if their loved ones are victims.
Here's what we do know about the shooting victims. James Martin, 55 years old, was shot last night at the Shoppers Food Warehouse. James Sonny Buchanan, believed to be in his late 30s or early 40s, killed behind the Fitzgerald Auto Mall here in Rockville this morning. A black male in his 40s killed on Aspen Hill Road at the Mobil gas station. Hispanic female in her 40s shot to death outside the post office near Leisure World in Silver Spring, and a white female in her 40s killed at the Shell gas station this morning in Kensington. We are back here.
By the end of the day, on October 3rd, 5 more victims had been shot and killed in the Washington metropolitan area. Investigators determined that bullets from several of the first 7 shootings were fired from the same weapon, a high-powered .223 caliber rifle.
Authorities believe the sniper is using a high-powered rifle that could target a victim more than 100 yards away. This gives you an idea of just how far away that victim could be. Early on, authorities showed us the guns that are possibly being used and the ammunition.
Other than conflicting reports of a white van, a white box truck, and a dark Chevrolet Caprice near the scenes of the incidents, police had no clear leads. On October 7th, Muhammad and Malvo would do something that was seen as crossing the line, even for murderers. At 8:09 a.m., Iron Brown, a 13-year-old student, was shot in the chest and critically wounded as he arrived at Benjamin Tasker Middle School in Bowie, Maryland.
We have breaking news right now. If you've been with us, then you know hundreds of police are looking for a sharpshooter who has struck again. His latest victim, a 13-year-old boy, is in critical condition, fighting for his life.
Thankfully, Benjamin would survive this attack and eventually testify in Muhammad's trial. It was at this crime scene that the authorities discovered a shell casing as well as a tarot card, specifically the death card, inscribed with the phrase, "Call me God." In 3 separate lines on the back, they wrote, "For you, Mr. Police, code, call me God. Do not release to the press." Despite police efforts to honor the request not to release information about the card to the press, details were made public by WUSA TV and then the Washington Post just 1 day later. A day after that news broke, a 53-year-old civil engineer, Dean Harold Myers, was shot dead at a Sunoco gas station in Prince William County, Virginia.
Deadly shooting with eerie similarities to the others. A man was shot dead tonight while pumping gas just outside Manassas, Virginia.
With 7 shooting victims, including 6 deaths, in the first 15 hours of the D.C. area spree, the North American media soon devoted extensive coverage to the shootings. By the middle of October 2002, all news television networks provided live coverage of the aftermath of each attack, with the coverage often lasting for hours at a time. The Fox show America's Most Wanted devoted an entire episode to the shooters in hopes of aiding their capture. However, most of the coverage of the case in the New York Times was written by Jason Blair and subsequently found to be fabricated. The ensuing scandal resulted in resignations of the newspaper's top 2 editors, Howell Raines and Gerald Boyd. False information in the Hysteria wasn't uncommon, though. In fact, criminal profilers predicted that the sniper was most likely a white male, but that assumption was based largely on the characteristics of past serial killers and not the sniper case itself. The car that the shooters were in was reported to be either a box truck or a white van, and even a white version of the same Chevy Caprice that the shooters were using. From October 9th to 14th, 2 men and women were killed in separate incidents in Northern Virginia. The men killed on October 9th and 11th were pumping gas. At this point, 5 people had been killed at gas stations. And because of this, it was not uncommon to see people ducking while at gas stations, filling their tanks, looking over their shoulders, terrified that they could be the next victim. It even got to a point where many gas stations were covering their pumps with tents or tarps in order to provide some peace of mind to their customers. On October 14th, the 2 shooters would cross yet another line, murdering an FBI analyst, Linda Franklin.
This latest execution is the sniper's 9th, and as we're learning tonight, she was much more than just a victim. Linda Franklin was a wife, a mother, and an FBI employee. Her life ended inside a Home Depot parking garage last night.
On October 14th at 9:15 p.m., 47-year-old Linda Franklin, an FBI intelligence analyst who was a resident of Arlington County, Virginia, was shot dead in a covered parking lot in Home Depot, just outside of Falls Church. FBI analysts were able to determine that this shot was taken from outside the vehicle. At this point, the shooters were getting cocky. Muhammad and Malvo would wait 5 days before striking again, when on October 19th at 8 p.m., 37-year-old Jeffrey Hopper was shot in a parking lot near the Ponderosa Steakhouse, about 90 miles south of Washington, near Interstate 95.
Well, the town of Ashland is now a community in fear. They haven't seen a shooting since February, so the possibility of a serial killer in their midst is incomprehensible. Our team coverage continues with a look at how this small community is dealing with a local tragedy and the national spotlight. Fox 5's Maureen Ume has more from Ashland.
Luckily, his wife Stephanie called out to a passerby who phoned an ambulance, enabling Hopper to survive his injuries. Authorities would discover a 4-page letter from the shooter in the woods that demanded $10 million and made a threat to children. It begins again, "For you, Mr. Police, call me God. Do not release to the press. We have tried to contact you to start negotiation, but the incompetence of your forces in Montgomery Police, Officer Derrick, at 862 Friday, Rockville Police Department female officer at 753, Task Force FBI female at 09, 4 times noted, 4 priest at Ashland, 5 Washington D.C. at 867. These people took all of our calls for a hoax or joke, so your failure to respond has cost you 5 lives. If stopping the killing is more important than catching us now, then you will accept our demands, which are negotiable. 1. You will place $10 million in Bank of America account redacted. PIN redacted, activation date redacted, expiration date redacted, name redacted. Member sense redacted. Platinum Visa account, not a sponsor. We will have unlimited withdrawal at any ATM worldwide. You will activate the bank account, credit card, and PIN number. We will contact you at Ponderosa Buffet. Telephone number 6 a.m. Sunday morning. You have until 9 a.m. Monday morning to complete this transaction. Try to catch us withdrawing, at least you will have less body bags. But if trying to catch us now is more important, then prepare your body bags. If we give you our word, that is what takes place. Word is bond. P.S. Your children are not safe anywhere at any time. On October 21st, Richmond police would arrest 2 men, one with a white van, outside of a gas station. The men turned out to be undocumented immigrants with no connection to the shooter. The pair were subjected to cavity searches and remanded into federal custody. These 2 men with the white van were not the only ones investigated for possibly being the sniper. On October 8th, the Baltimore Police Department investigated a dark blue Chevy Caprice near the Jones Falls Expressway at 28th Street in Baltimore with a person sleeping inside of it. The officers were concerned that the driver's license was from Washington State while the vehicle was registered in New Jersey. Although the vehicle was suspicious enough for them to investigate, and it fit the description of the vehicle associated with the shooting in Washington, D.C. 5 days earlier, the officers did not question the occupants extensively, nor did they search the vehicle. Authorities were quick to issue a media alert to the public to be on the lookout for a dark blue Chevy Caprice sedan. For the public, as well as for law enforcement agencies throughout the region, this was a major change from the mysterious white box truck earlier sought based upon reported sightings. On the next day, October 22nd, a ride-on bus driver, Conrad Johnson, 35 years old, was shot at 5:56 a.m. while standing on the steps at the 14100 block of Grand Prix Road in Aspen Hill, Maryland. Johnson later died of his injuries. On that same day, Chief Moose released part of the content of one of the shooter's letters, in which he declared, "Your children are not safe anywhere at any time." While no shootings occurred the next day on the 23rd, this day is significant for two events. First, ballistic experts confirmed Johnson as the 10th fatality in the Beltway shootings. Second, in a yard in Tacoma Park, Maryland, police searched with metal detectors for bullets, shell casings, or other evidence that might provide a link to the shooters. A tree stump believed to have been used for target practice was seized. But if it weren't for the two shooters contacting a Roman Catholic priest themselves, the police may not have ever found the DC snipers. For reasons unknown to police, the shooters detailed their crimes to the priest and asked him to advise the police to take a look into the September 2002 robbery homicide at a liquor store in Montgomery, Alabama. Evidence recovered from the Montgomery crime scene was linked to Lee Boyd Malvo, a 17-year-old Jamaican who had been fingerprinted in December 2001 by the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Service. Further investigation found that Malvo had been seen traveling around with a man named John Muhammad, a Persian Gulf War veteran who had qualified as an expert marksman. Additionally, Muhammad and Malvo had been observed target shooting at a residence in Tacoma, Washington, further linking them to the sniper case. The earlier predictions of criminal profiles were shown to be wildly incorrect, as the two suspected were an African-American male and a Caribbean teenager. Soon, a warrant was issued for Muhammad on a federal firearms violation, and the police identified the make, model, and license plate number of the Chevrolet Caprice he was driving. The police released a description of the car to the media on October 23rd, and later that evening, their crime spree came to a close at 3:15 a.m. on October 24th, 2002, when Muhammad and Malvo were found sleeping in their car at a rest stop off Interstate 70 near Myersville, Maryland, and were arrested on federal weapons charges. 4 hours earlier, Montgomery Police Chief Charles Moose had relayed this cryptic message to the sniper. "You have indicated to us that you want us to do and say certain things. You have asked us to say, 'We have caught the sniper like a duck in a noose.' We understand that hearing us is more important to you," Moose asked the media, "to carry the message accurately and often." Trooper First Class D. Wayne Smith of the Maryland State Police was the first to arrive at the scene and immediately used his light blue unmarked police vehicle to block off the exit by positioning the car sideways between two parked tractor trailers. As more troops arrived, they effectively sealed off the rest of the area at both the entrance and the exit ramps without the suspects being aware of the rapidly growing police presence. Later, as truck driver Ron Lance was attempting to exit the rest area, his tractor trailer was commandeered by troopers who used the truck in place of a police car to completely roadblock the exit. With the suspect's escape route sealed off, the SWAT officers moved in to arrest them. A stolen Bushmaster .223 caliber weapon and bipod were found in a bag in Muhammad's car. Ballistic tests later conclusively linked the seized rifle to 11 of the 14 shootings. The trunk of the Chevrolet Caprice was modified to serve as a rolling sniper's nest. The backseat was modified to allow a person to access the trunk. Once inside, the sniper could lay prone and take shots through a small hole created for that purpose near the license plate. Although I said earlier we don't know why, we do know somewhat why Muhammad wanted to do this. Although hard to believe, investigators and the prosecution suggested during pre-trial motions that Muhammad intended to kill his second ex-wife, Mildred. According to this hypothesis, the other shootings were intended to cover up the motive for the crime. Muhammad believed that the police would not focus on an estranged ex-husband as a suspect if Mildred appeared to be a random victim of a serial killer. During the attacks, Muhammad frequented the neighborhood where she lived, and some of the incidents occurred nearby. Additionally, he had earlier made threats against her. Mildred herself said that she was his intended target, claiming that when the police first approached her, one officer said, "Miss Muhammad, didn't you know you were the target?" However, Judge Leroy F. Millett Jr. prevented prosecutors from presenting that theory during the trial, saying that a link had not been firmly established. Malvo, on the other hand, while in prison, wrote a number of erratic diatribes about what he termed jihad against the United States. "I have been accused on my mission. Allah knows I'm going to suffer now," he wrote, because his rants and drawings featured not only such figures as Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, but also characters from the film series The Matrix. These musings were dismissed as immaterial. Some investigators reportedly said that they had all but eliminated terrorist ties or political ideologies as a motive. Nonetheless, in at least one of the ensuing murder trials, a Virginia court found Muhammad guilty of killing pursuant to the direction or order of terrorism. At the 2006 trial of Muhammad, Malvo testified that the aim of the killing spree was to kidnap children for the purpose of extorting money from the U.S. government and to set up a camp to train children how to terrorize cities, with the ultimate goal being to shut things down across the United States. Malvo also stated that Muhammad was driven by his hatred for white people and his belief that the white man is the devil. His plan was to kill 6 white people per day for 30 days, and he told Malvo he wanted him to shoot pregnant white women. Although this is the stated motive of the perpetrators themselves, this doesn't line up with their victims, so it's hard to know why exactly they did this. Muhammad and Malvo were prosecuted in Virginia, a state where Malvo could have been eligible for the death penalty. And in fact, in November 2003, Muhammad was convicted on murder and weapons charges and ultimately received a death sentence for his role in the sniper killings. After exhausting all of his appeals, he was executed by lethal injection in November of 2009. Malvo was also found guilty of murder, terrorism, and firearm charges in December of 2003, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. As part of a deal with prosecutors, Malvo later pled guilty in additional cases, but was spared the possibility of a death sentence in 2005, when a U.S. Supreme Court ruling declared that capital punishment for juvenile offenders is unconstitutional. Well, that was kind of crazy, wasn't it? I hope you guys enjoyed that. I've been working really hard on this ghost video that I teased in a post, but I didn't really get enough feedback to want to post a trailer and then have you guys waiting around. So I never did that, but I have a ghost video coming out. I went to New York with a bunch of buddies. We spent the night at a popular haunted house, like a real haunted house, not like a firehouse run haunted house, you know, a real one. And we captured a bunch of stuff. So, you know, you're seeing some of it now. I know it's unrelated to the video, but this will be coming out soon. And yeah, this is what I did in the meanwhile. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm working really hard on the ghost video. Stick around to the channel. And popping up now is a video that's already up that YouTube thinks you're going to like. So if you haven't seen it yet, click it. Let me know what you think. And have a good day.